Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. You are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. Hope your week is going well. You are now halfway to another weekend, and I hope you, your family, your friends, everyone is staying strong and healthy right now. And man, has it been a busy week in the world of sports, because the new NFL calendar year is underway now. And with that comes a number of roster moves and, of course, the start of that free agent signing period. And yes, we have seen a number of things taking place so far. First up, the Kansas City Chiefs, needing to free up some salary cap space, traded away all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie in exchange for a package of picks that includes the number 29 in this year's draft. They will also be getting a 2026 5th and 6th round pick and a 27 3rd round pick. That is coming from the Los Angeles Rams, who are clearly just allergic at this point to drafting anyone ever. But hey, coming off that loss of the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs, I think it was apparent that the Rams needed to upgrade their defensive backfield. This move definitely helps them do that. I'm just not quite sure I understand what the Chiefs are doing. Like when that first happened, I thought, well, maybe the Chiefs are kind of lowering their expectations for the coming season. We know the defense has been their strength. Maybe they're kind of backing off and saying, hey, we don't know when Patrick Mahomes is going to be back from that injury. Maybe we're just going to have kind of a down year. But then the Chiefs went out and signed Super Bowl MVP running back, former Seattle Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker in free agency. Okay, so you built up your offense, you did free up some salary, you lessened your defense a little bit, and you're still not sure when Patrick Mahomes is going to be back. We still don't know what tight end Travis Kelce is doing. I'm not sure what the Chiefs are doing. Guess we'll have to see. The Buffalo Bills, we knew they had to upgrade their offensive weapons for quarterback Josh Allen, and they pulled the trigger on a big move. They sent a 2026 second-round draft pick to Chicago in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a 2026 fifth-round draft pick. Now, Moore turns 29 this April, but he will be reunited with Bills' new head coach, Joe Brady. Remember, he played under Brady with the Carolina Panthers back when Brady was the offensive coordinator. And hey, Moore is going to immediately be Josh Allen's best receiver. Will that be a huge upgrade for the Bills? We'll see. If nothing else, Moore at least seems to stay healthy. He at least is on the field most of the time. But we are kind of seeing that Chicago Bears roster get shuffled a little bit. Hey, we know with tight end Colston Loveland, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III, hey, they kind of had some room to let Moore go. But we also saw him have a very, very low year in terms of production this last year. He only had 682 yards on 50 catches. They do trim some salary, which they desperately need to use on their defense. And then we got one of the most bizarre stories in NFL trade history that I can remember, as it was announced that the Baltimore Ravens would be acquiring 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders for first-round picks this year in 2026 and next year in 2027. Hey, it would be the first time in the Ravens' 31-year existence that they have used a first-round pick to trade for a veteran player. And Baltimore had the number 14 pick in this year's draft. So this is a very uncharacteristic move for the Ravens. But I mean, after going 8-9 this past season, where they missed the playoffs completely, they fired longtime head coach John Harbaugh, it seemed like it was something that I guess they needed to do. Well, it all came crashing down last night when it was announced that the Ravens were backing out of the deal. Now, the Ravens didn't issue a reason just yet, but the speculation is that Crosby may have failed a physical and Baltimore got cold feet, I guess. But I mean, was this an injury? Was this a methamphetamine addiction? Did he say the N-word too many times? I don't know is what I'm saying. But now, what do? Max goes back on the market? I mean, he can't go back to the Raiders. So does he go back on the market And does this mean a lot of the trades and deals that were set in place are now undone? Maybe, just maybe. The NFL needs to take a look at all these deals getting done before they officially can be done. Maybe you need to clamp down on that nonsense the NFL never has, because you could end up with egg on your face, as is this situation here. Moving over to the world of free agency in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers training staff apparently signed former Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans. He will be working out in the training room for them next year. I think he's going to be leasing the blue sideline tent until he can find an apartment in San Francisco. The Miami Dolphins released quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and will eat $99 million over 2 seasons instead of having to watch him play football for one more second. The Dolphins instead went out and signed backup quarterback Malik Willis, who is basically Tua, but without all the head injuries and that giant price tag. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons already have a left-handed, largely inaccurate quarterback on their staff, and he's got a pretty serious injury history. Well, the Atlanta Falcons took one look at Tua Tagovailoa on the free agent market and said, hey, we got to have him. I don't know why. It just feels like we have to have this guy on our roster. I don't understand it. I don't know what a lot of these moves were. But great teams are not built in free agency. I know we get all excited about free agency when it comes up. We're like, oh, look at this big move. Oh, look at this team making all these moves. I mean, you can add a piece here or there, but bad teams are usually who wins free agency. And usually they have to overspend because no one wants to go to that crappy team. I mean, look at this year. The Las Vegas Raiders signed center Tyler Linderbaum to a 3-year deal, $81 million. Hey, Linderbaum's good. He's undersized, but we know Clint Kubiak wants a good center. Well, $81 million later, they got one. They also went and got wide receiver Jalen Naylor, $35 million, and linebacker Nakobe Dean, $36 million. Kids, that's a ton of money. So they have already spent that Max Crosby money like 3 times over. It wasn't just the Raiders. The New Orleans Saints signed running back Travis Etienne and offensive guard David Edwards for a combined $113 million. Now, are any of these moves going to make the Raiders or the Saints a contender? No, probably not. Historically, if you're winning free agency, you're probably losing on the field. And one last move in NFL free agency, Arby's has signed former Raiders quarterback Geno Smith to a multi-year deal worth $15 an hour to stabilize their drive-through. Wait, that's not Arby's? Oh, it's the Jets. My bad. I mean, same difference. The New York Jets have signed Geno Smith to a $15 an hour deal. My bad. One last thing to keep in mind on NFL free agency. Only 4 teams didn't make an external addition to their rosters in the first day of free agency. The Seattle Seahawks, the Denver Broncos, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Philadelphia Eagles. What do those teams have in common? They all went to the playoffs, and they all won at least 11 games this past year. Hey, today on The Dose, we are going to continue getting ready for March Madness. Last week we talked about the teams and the players that are going to be the favorites for the NCAA Tournament, which is coming really, really quickly. I mean, Selection Sunday is already this next weekend. But who are those sneaky teams out there? Maybe they don't have the big names. They just might end up busting your bracket. We're going to have a few of those for you today. Plus, our Daly Dose Top 5 is going to take a look at some history in the NCAA Tournament. And it might not be the good kind. But right now, let's jump into a little bit of college basketball news. We talked last week about North Carolina Tar Heels big man Caleb Williams being a player to watch this year in the tournament. Yeah, so much for that. Wilson is going to miss the remainder of the season after breaking his right thumb during practice last Thursday while dunking the basketball. Hey, Carolina is still going to be a solid team. They can still make a little noise in this tournament. Can they be one of the top teams in the country without Williams in the lineup? I would say probably not. I don't know if they could with him in the lineup, but I would say they definitely can't with him out of the lineup. Hey, we saw them get worked over the weekend by Duke. Be careful advancing the Tar Heels too far in this tournament because Caleb Williams is a big loss. Speaking of those Duke Blue Devils, it wasn't just Williams that went down. Duke starting guard Caleb Foster has a fractured right foot and is out indefinitely. Duke head coach John Shire announced that Foster underwent surgery on Sunday and added that the junior guard will miss foreseeable time. He wouldn't rule out Foster for the rest of the season, but acknowledged that the Dukies would have to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament in order for him to return. Now, Foster is Duke's fourth leading scorer. He's averaging 8.5 points and 3 assists in 31 games this year, but he suffered that foot injury in the first half of that North Carolina game, and he did not return. Now, again, I'm not saying Duke can't win it all without Foster. I am saying you might want to be a little careful, because in basketball, you only get 5 players on the floor at a time. Losing a good one definitely hurts. Moving briefly over to the NBA, Jason Tatum's return to the Boston Celtics, honestly, it's been nothing short of incredible. He's played around 27 minutes in each of the games that he has been back since that Achilles tear just 10 months ago. He's averaging 17.5 points. That is hard to believe. And I know they are saying the reason he is back so quickly was because he got into surgery so quickly. But, when I was looking at Tatum coming back, I was like, I don't know if they even need him this year. They're sitting at like 43 and 21 or something like that. They look even better now with him in the lineup. But here's the other side of that. The way the Eastern Conference is going right now, the Knicks, I don't know, something's wrong with them. They're a little bit funky and they're really inconsistent. I'm not sure about them. The Pistons, they need a secondary scoring option. We've seen what can happen to Detroit when you take away Cade Cunningham. Are the Boston Celtics the best team in the Eastern Conference? I'm starting to think they might be. And now with the return of Jason Tatum, they might just keep getting better. Okay, so we started doing this, back in the earliest days of the podcast. We would go through and look for some teams that don't have the big names, but they are capable of busting up some brackets.
I'll bust you up. Go for it.
Hey, you can go back and you can listen to the Daly Dose history. We have a pretty good record of picking teams that have made some serious noise in the NCAA tournament. So with that in mind, we're going to give you some teams today. Now, we're not saying these teams can win the whole thing. What we are saying is be careful, because these teams don't have a big name, but you're going to see them in your bracket and you're going to be like, well, just move their opponent past them because I don't know that name. All I'm saying is be careful, because these teams just might bust up your bracket. Let's start off with a program that doesn't have much history in the NCAA tournament in general. They've only made the tournament like 10 times. Oh, but the St. Louis Billikens, they are a team that could be dangerous this year. And when you watch them play and you see their dorky big man, Robbie Avila, with his giant goggles on, you're going to go, Clint, did you seriously tell me that the St. Louis Billikens could actually make some noise in the tournament? Yes. And it's because they could actually make some noise in the tournament. Hey, Avila has some great nicknames. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar might be the best one. Larry Bird, College Jokic. But, he averages 13, 5, and 5. St. Louis scores 87 points per game, and they're a really good rebounding team. Hey, St. Louis isn't going to win it all, but I'm warning you, they could be a pain. The American Athletic Conference, they make some noise in football every once in a while, but you might want to keep an eye on a team that is right now the top team in the American in basketball, and that is those South Florida Bulls. After some midseason struggles, the Bulls are kind of starting to hit their stride. Now, they've got a few veterans on their team. Their best players are juniors and seniors. And head coach Brian Hodgson, he actually won a few games at Arkansas State. Well, he's got a better team in South Florida, and they might cause some problems for opponents, again, with that defense. They're a pretty solid defensive team. They can turn you over a number of times. You get in a tournament, you have an ugly night, they're pressing you, they're trapping you, you have a few turnovers, and all of a sudden you're in a dogfight with South Florida. Yeah, it might happen. I probably shouldn't put this next team on our list because they're actually getting a reputation for making some noise in March Madness. But once again, head coach Randy Bennett, has a team at St. Mary's, and they can trip some people up. Bennett has now coached the Gales to 11 tournament berths, including 4 in a row. But because of that, St. Mary's isn't going to be happy just to make the field. Hey, they've beaten Gonzaga this year. They've beaten Santa Clara this year. St. Mary's can defend. Usually when you hear St. Mary's, you go, oh, bunch of shooters, bunch of white boys that can just chuck it from outside. No. This team can defend, and offensively, they're very, very efficient. Be careful of St. Mary's. They could bust up some brackets. Okay, I have another team, and you probably are going to want to watch them. And when I say their name, you're going to go, well, come on, Clint. They don't belong here, at least not this year. Oh, but historically, they belong here. Because the Nebraska Cornhuskers are the only power conference team in America that has never won a game in the NCAA tournament. That is insane. Well, that streak should come to an end this year because the Cornhuskers have been dominating this year in hoop. In their 130-year history, the Nebraska Cornhuskers have only made the tournament 8 times. They are 0-8 when they get there. Well, this year, Nebraska's a top 10 team. Do you realize they actually began this season by rolling off 20 straight wins before they ever lost a game? Now, Nebraska has stumbled a bit recently in Big Ten play, but the Big Ten's pretty good. And Nebraska, I'll go ahead and say this, I don't think they just win one game. I think they actually might win a few games in the tournament. Beware of Nebraska. Like I said, they don't have the history. They don't. It's bad. But they might actually win a few games this year. A little more about the Nebraska Cornhuskers later on the dose. This next team made it to the tournament last year, but then their head coach, Alan Huss, he left. And he didn't even leave to take a head coaching job. He left to go to Creighton to be the next head coach in waiting. Kind of odd. So Flynn Clayman took over and inherited a very good High Point team. I know you see High Point and you immediately just pencil in whoever they're playing. I'm telling you right now, High Point has some players. Terry Anderson and Rob Martin are both seniors, and they've got a veteran team in general. And once again, High Point has been to the tournament. They're not going to be excited just to make it. They made it last year. They want to win a game or two this year. And if you draw the High Point Panthers, you might think you have a bye to get to the second round. Not so fast. This team has already qualified for the tournament. They won the Big South tournament. They are already in. All they're doing now is getting ready. If you see High Point, you might be in for a dogfight. You definitely do not have a bye. One more team to discuss before we take a quick break, and this team is out of the Coastal Athletic Conference, where the UNC Wilmington Seahawks have been dominating. Now, if you haven't seen them, Coach Takeo Siddle's team, they have got one of the most imposing players in the country in a kid named Patrick Wessler. 13 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, 1 block a game. He's one of the best post players in the country. But Wilmington, they are both a top 5 offensive and top 5 defensive team in that Coastal Athletic Conference. And again, UNC Wilmington, they made the dance last year. They got beaten by Texas Tech. Well, they've got seniors this year. They've got upperclassmen this year. They're experienced this year. They're not coming in going, oh, it's so exciting to be there. We made it. Now we're done. No, they want to come out and actually win a game. Be very careful of those UNC Wilmington Seahawks. Hey, remember, you should be stopping by DailyDoseSports.com each and every week and check out what new things we have going over there. We have links to the podcast. We have links to new articles every week. In fact, one went up this week about the Colorado Avalanche. You might want to check that out. Remember, you can always email the podcast at DailyDoseSports@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And if you need some Daly Dose gear, maybe need a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sweatshirt, a baseball cap, you can find it over at DailyDoseSports.com. Hey, one more thing. Don't miss this. Don't fast forward this. Be sure you go over to DailyDoseSports.com here in the next week or so and join the Daly Dose 2026 NCAA Tournament Bracket Challenge. It is free to enter. The winner will get a Daly Dose basketball t-shirt. You can just go to DailyDoseSports.com. I will have the link to ESPN. Join the Bracket Challenge. It's free to join. And then join the group named Daly Dose Sports Podcast and make your picks. More about that next week on the podcast. So let's finish up I'll look at some of the teams out there that might not have name brand recognition, but they could end up busting up your bracket. And we go next to Conference USA, to a team that seems to make this list, honestly, I think like every year. Because once again, head coach Richie McKay has his Liberty Flames playing at a very high level. Liberty isn't just a good offensive team, it's one of the best offensive teams we've ever seen. This team might finish the season as the first Division I team to shoot 40% from three and 61% from inside the arc. Both of those are top 6 nationally. That would be the best shooting we've seen since like the 90s. Liberty just doesn't miss much. Hey, Richie McKay has had his Liberty Flames in the tournament 3 other times. They're not going to be intimidated. Watch out for Liberty this year. We go next to the Ivy League, where the Yale Bulldogs have gone to back-to-back tournaments, and it looks like they're going to go to their 3rd big dance in a row. Hey, the Bulldogs have one of the best offenses in the country. They rank in the top 30 in efficiency. They rank 2nd nationally in three-point shooting at 41%. Nick Townsend is the best player in the league. And Coach James Jones, hey, he's proven he can win. He's proven he can get Yale to the tournament. And don't forget, it was just 2 years ago, Yale upset Auburn. We called it here on the Dose and busted a bunch of brackets. Telling you, Yale just might do it again. Now, I shouldn't put this next team on our list because they're actually undefeated. But the problem for Miami, Ohio, is that their schedule hasn't been all that impressive. But the Redhawks are trying to be just the 4th team since 1991 to enter the NCAA tournament with an unbeaten record. Miami is now entering the Mid-American Conference tournament with a perfect 31-0 record. No, they haven't beaten any ranked teams. Oh, but they are crushing the teams they do play. On average, they win every game by about 26 points. Now, could that bite them later when they get into a tight game? Yeah, it could. But could they come out and win a game or two? Oh, that is very, very possible. We will finish up with another team that has the chance to surprise some people and bust up your bracket, because when you see St. Thomas, Minnesota on the line, you're going to go, well, I've never heard of them, so let's go ahead and put the other team past them. I'm telling you right now, the St. Thomas, Minnesota Tommies, yeah, you better be careful picking against this team, because the Tommies have consistently been one of the best offensive teams in mid-major basketball, not just this year, over the past few years. And this should be the year the Tommies get to show that on the NCAA tournament stage. Nolan Minisale and Nick Janowski are big-time scorers. Hey, the Tommies can light it up from three-point range. Be careful. Like I said, you're going to see that name. You're going to go, St. Thomas, Minnesota. Who is that? Don't say you didn't know, because they just might end up busting your bracket. Hey, we know that this season, we don't really have teams that are head and shoulders just better than everyone else. I think Duke is there. I think Arizona is there. I think Michigan is there. But they've all been beaten. Hey, if you get your bracket and you just advance every favorite, I don't know that it's going to go that well, because we don't have that dominant of teams. We're going to see some upsets, and we will have some experienced mid-major teams this year that can make some noise. Make those picks very, very carefully. Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daly Dose, we need to get over to our Daly Dose Top 5. So today, we've been discussing some teams that might not be household names, but they still might be capable of upsetting one of those blue blood programs when the NCAA tournament begins next week. But did you know there are a few teams that have gone to the NCAA tournament numerous times, and they've never won a single game? I mean, we spoke earlier about the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are trying to make history this year by winning the first game in their school's history. But they're not the only ones. Today, our Daly Dose Top 5 is counting down the college basketball programs that have the most appearances in the NCAA tournament, but have not yet recorded a single win. Could we see that change for any of these schools this season? And by the way, our Daly Dose Top 5 today, it actually has 8 teams on it, but there are a number of ties, so you'll see what I mean. We start off at number 5, where we actually have 5 schools tied on this entry. The Akron Zips have had a few decent seasons. They've had players like Alex Abreu and Zeke Marshall and head coach Keith Dambra. Louisiana Monroe had NBA great Calvin Nat and head coach Mike Vining. The Colgate Raiders had Mike Ferrara and Adonal Foyle, and head coach Mike Langle won a number of games. The South Dakota State Jackrabbits had Mike Daum and Nate Walters, and head coach Scott Nagy won nearly 200 games. And Long Island University had guys like Charlie Jones and Freddie Burton and legendary coach Claire B. But what do all 5 of these schools have in common? They've each been to the NCAA Tournament 7 times, and they are each 0-7. So these 5 schools are taking up basically the 5, the 4, and the 3 slot. And of these 5 schools, Akron at least has a chance to make the tournament. They sit in second place in the Mid-American Conference behind that undefeated Miami, Ohio team. Long Island is currently on top of the Northeastern Conference. They'll have to win their tournament to get in, though. So could any of these teams break their streak of winning an NCAA tournament game? It's not very likely. But today, Akron, Louisiana Monroe, Colgate, South Dakota State, and Long Island come in on our list at number 5 and number 4 and also number 3. We move on to number 2. And we actually have 2 schools that land here in a tie. The first one we've already discussed today. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have played in 8 NCAA tournament games. They've never won a single game. I mean, the Huskers have had some decent players. Dookie Belcher stands out. Tyronn Lue was a Husker. Bryce Williams, Ed Morrow, Ryan Anderson. Pretty good players. Danny Nee and Tim Miles both had successful runs as head coaches in Lincoln, but they couldn't win a tournament game. But then we also have another school that has also tried 8 times and has also failed 8 times. Because the Eastern Kentucky Colonels went to the tournament for the first time back in the 50s. They went most recently in 2014. Now, obviously, Eastern Kentucky doesn't have a ton of history. Jeff McGill and James Tillman were probably the best players in their school's history, but they have made it to the big dance 8 different times. Unfortunately, they have yet to win a game when they get there. Now, I do think Nebraska is going to end this streak this year. I actually think they're going to win a game. Eastern Kentucky, yeah, they're going to have to wait a little longer because I don't think they're going to get in. But Nebraska and Eastern Kentucky come in today on our list at number 2. So we reach the number 1 team on our list today of schools that have the most NCAA tournament appearances without a single win. And we get to another team that actually doesn't have a great deal of success in the world of college basketball. I mean, if I say names like Derek Marks and Tyson Degenhart, it probably isn't going to ring any bells for you. Their current head coach, Leon Rice, is the best coach in their history. He's gotten them to the tournament 5 times, but they haven't won a game. However, you would probably know the school more for their football program, with guys like Ryan Clady and Ashton Genty and Kellen Moore and Ian Johnson, because the Boise State Broncos have now played in 10 NCAA tournament games total. They are 0-10 in those games. Now, Boise State is solid this year, but I think they're probably going to have to win the Mountain West tournament in order to make that NCAA tournament field. So their streak is probably going to remain intact, but we will see if any of the programs on our Daly Dose Top 5 this week will have a chance to actually make some history this year and actually get a win up in the win column. Hey, next week on the Dose, the NCAA tournament will be set. Selection Sunday is Sunday morning. We will be taking a deep dive into the matchups on the board, and we will do our best to get you ready to fill out your March Madness bracket and win your all-important office pools. So be sure you tune into the Daly Dose and be sure you let a friend know to do the same. Hey, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening to the Daly Dose every week. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the text. Thank you for the tweets. But more than anything, thank you for sharing the show, for sharing the videos, and for sharing the articles with someone that you know. We absolutely love it when you do that. I say thank you to JSP. Could not do any of this without you. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody.
Bust you up.
Go